And welcome to the Songs We Sang with me, Sean Green. In this episode, we focus on West Indian folk songs that we all sang at school. Now, Caribbean folk tells the story of the region's past, a history that we all share.
The rhythmic music, the colorful costumes, the stories within, and the history and the pride of a people. These are the ingredients of West Indian folk music. From Jamaica to Guyana, we all share a common history despite the diversity of our ethnicities. Our music is one of those things which make us one. So join me as we feature a few of those folk songs which we in the English-speaking Caribbean share. College educator Cherish Holmes defines folk.
The term folk itself can be attributed or derived from the German term Volk, which means the people. And that's exactly what folk songs are. They're songs about the people, sang and carried on through generations by the people.
Folk songs help to pass on stories related to the culture. So they give the children a little idea of stuff that used to occur back in the day.
Well, not only do they give a bit of history, but they let us know about folk songs are noted as poetry for the working class.
Folk songs are part of the carrying on of culture of a society.
It's an excellent way to keep and recapture certain moments using song. Songs help retain memories.
It maintains history and culture. I think that the children need to know, much of what happened, what, were the ones that paved the way, the songs that paved the way.
This is a part of my culture. This is what used to occur before, but now we've gone far, but still we have to remember the past if we're going to go far to the future. So they're important because they tell the story of what was before.
Now let's put the spotlight on a few of those songs we sang at school from the Caribbean region. Now, many of those songs we sang in the Caribbean and even locally were about personalities, and here are just a few of them. These are songs about those brown girls, and primary school educator Karen Best from the Wilkie Cumberbatch School recalls.
I remember singing "Steam a Little Brown Girl" with my friends on the playing field. Sometimes we would get together, especially around November when we had to sing those songs because it was November. We would sing, especially "Steam a Little Brown Girl," and we would play "There's a Brown Girl in the Rain." So we would sing that a lot. Tra-la-la-la. So yeah, we would sing that.
Sing a little brown girl, cause she for me, cause she for me, cause she for me. Sing a little brown girl, cause she for me, and tell her I want to go.
According to the book Folk Songs of Barbados by Trevor Marshall, Peggy McGeary, and Grace Thompson, the piece expresses the desire of a young dandy to find his lady friend.
You may walk, and you may talk, and you may tell about my style and my fashion, by my high standing color and my ties to multiply. I'm a dandy, I'm a dandy, I'm a dude.
The influence of American culture is seen in the terms dandy and dude.
I'm a dandy, I'm a dandy, I'm a dude.
High collars were fashioned for men around the beginning of the turn of the 20th century.
Well, I want to go home. See a little brown girl, cause she for me, cause she for me, cause she for me. See a little brown girl, cause she for me. Tell her I want to go home. That was not necessarily a Barbadian folk song, that was a Caribbean-wide one. And the mulatto lady comes up in it, was another character. That character is another personality stereotype in those days as well too. The mulatto woman and the mulatto woman being voluptuous and could take your man. We could use the red woman now as a substitute for that particular paradigm that comes through into our modern times. This idea of these women being watched yourself.
The focus on the brown girl, see that little brown girl, cause she for me. And again, this is a children's game. We would call it a nursery rhyme. But kids are singing it, they're 5 years old. However, it's a bit colorist, isn't it?
The brown girl or the red girl or whatever as a figure in those times is not really surprised there. So brown girl in the ring, tra-la-la-la, see little brown girl, call she for me, where the mulatto woman takes on a personality within these particular songs.
We can, if you want to stretch it that far, we can extend that to, again, issues of colorism within our own society, black, brown, and it being basically an emphasis mark for class, etc. And how we look and marginalize each other within the society based on color. Yeah, so you could perhaps find that theme in their alienation and in terms of looking at identity, what we value here as a society.
As I said, these folk songs, even though they're Barbadian, the real definitive element of them is the use of Bajan dialect. But in terms of the melodies, the keys, in terms of the scales they use, the major scale, right? All of that stuff is in many other cultures.
What it influenced me when I was growing up, we had fun singing it at primary school days. And no, we didn't have the digital things that the children have now. We spent most of our time outside making fun and games. Ringing Around the Roses was one of the fun things, and the Brown Girl in the Rain. And we sang them without knowing much of what the history was. We just knew that it was one of the songs that made our childhood play happy.
Because for me, most of these songs, to be quite honest, that's one of the things I like about them, like the rhythms. The rhythms, because I sang at school, I went to elementary, secondary, and I sang at school as in a folk group at school. And I used to like when we have like end of term concerts and big performance, so you have on your skirt and you dancing and doing the things like that. That's where I learned most of my songs from. And then seeing sing up Barbados and those things like that. And I enjoy those things, you know, how the gentlemen sing to the women and you're doing all those little antics and whatnot. So I really like the rhythm, and then some of the lyrics are so fun, you know. So basically for me, that's what I like about the folk songs. I like it, and teaching it in school, I think to me is not a bad idea. I think children they can relate to that.
You will find that other people could understand and appreciate musically what's going on in Barbadian folk songs. Even though they may not understand the words, there's still a level of musical appreciation. In addition to that, popular songs are also based around the same major keys, around the same repetition factors that we use. So it's not a surprise really that a popular group would take a folk song from the Caribbean and try to make it now present in a certain way to sell to audiences.
Staying with the theme of Caribbean folk music, I must mention our national anthem. Of course, our national anthem is certainly not a folk song, but it was written by a man who made West Indian folk music famous on the international stage.
Irving Burgie, born in Brooklyn, New York, to a Barbadian mother, not only penned the words to our Barbados national anthem, but he also wrote a few songs we sang in school. He was known as the father of modern calypso, who helped to introduce the art form to the United States. It was after he teamed up with another young man in the US, who was also of West Indian descent, Harry Belafonte, that these particular songs became popular. Belafonte, also born in New York, Harlem to be exact, had a Jamaican mother and spent some time on the island with her. He was known for taking Caribbean folk called calypso in the 50s and 60s to the international arena after they were composed by Burgie using unique Caribbean rhythms and tempos. It was Belafonte's release of his Island in the Sun album that really put Caribbean folk on the map internationally. The actual song, Island in the Sun, was cleverly written by Burgie to describe not just Jamaica and Barbados. Some would argue that it was written to describe all of the islands of the Caribbean, as this song is a song of celebration and appreciation for the Caribbean, speaking about the beauty of the islands, the traditions of the people, hard labor, and the joy that Caribbean people find in their culture and their festivities. Notice that no actual island is named in the song, leaving territories to utilize and adapt the lyrics to represent their island. The final line of the first stanza, "Her shores will always be home to me," is often adapted to reflect individual islands. Therefore, in Barbadian schools, we replace "her shores" with Barbados and would sing, "Barbados will always be home to me." And other Caribbean islands have done the same over the years. Many argue that this is the reason the song was written in this manner. The other Burgie Belafonte classic song we sang was the Banana Boat song, also known as Deo.
Work all night and a drink a rum. Daylight come and we want go home. Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight come and we want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. Come, Mr. Tallyman, tally me banana. Daylight come and we want go home. Live 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch. Daylight come and we want go home. Day is a day, oh. Daylight come and we want go home. Day is a day, is a day, is a day.
Initially written and performed as a comedic act by the pair, the song quickly became a hit on the charts. This song was said to have had its inspiration from Jamaican dock workers who worked throughout the night, loading bananas onto ships and longing for the light of day to come in order for them to go home. Belafonte's version used lyrics adapted by Burgie. Burgie later described Deo, or the Banana Boat song, as a song about the struggle of the black working class people in the Caribbean in a colonialized life doing the most grueling work, summing up typical life in the Caribbean during that period.
Daylight come and me want go home. Daylight come and me want go home.
So in places like Jamaica and the Windward Islands, bananas, they were and still are one of the chief exports. For us here in Barbados, it was, probably still is, sugarcane. So a song like "Cut the Sugarcane Till I Bun Me Hand" was very relevant in those times, very much as it is today, to not just Barbados, but many of our Caribbean neighbors.
The planters plant sugarcane, we know for Barbados for sure. We know about the sugarcane because that was our main industry.
Many of them speak to hard work, hard life, sugarcane, plantation life, and so on. So village life, how Barbados was, in the 1800s, the early 20th century, and so on.
If you think about it, where the singer talks about cutting cane until their hand is bleeding, what that speaks to then would be the hardship of even post-emancipation life in Barbados, the fact that persons actually still had to work on the plantations in order to survive. The
long hours, how hard it is, whether the rain is falling, whether the sun really hot or whatever is going on, and so to me that is kind of impactful. The one with the sugar cane for sure, but for history I suspect it based on basically the Caribbean, but we in Barbados can relate to that as well, because then we know the sugar cane is our main industry and part of our culture and things like that too. So
Barbados was a plantation society. and villages existed on the outskirts of many plantations, and people's lives were dominated by, based on what I've read in history and so on, by the plantation.
So, we've looked at the role that agricultural hard work has played in the life of Caribbean people during those post-colonial times. Now, for us here in Barbados, there are a few Barbadian folk songs that speak to that hard Caribbean life. Songs such as Pull Them Oarsmen, better known as the Fisherman Song.
Out in the morning for the break of day, I pack my bundle and I'm on my way. Out with the fishes to live and go. Get the boat ready, now I make to go. You got to pull them oarsmen, 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 pull them.
Fishing is an integral part of small island life. And for us here in Barbados, the life of a fisherman is one filled with adventure, risk, and reward.
The fisherman's song is nice. Early in the morning before the sun is up, you're pushing out. I have done my share of fishing as well, and I know about those days. And you push out there, you don't know if you're going to catch, but you go in the hope of catching. And then they have to come back home sometimes without anything or with very little, not enough to, you know, feed the family for that day or the next day. But then there were days when there was abundance, and those were the good days. These are not the days of engines, boat engines. You had to pull the oars. And whether the sea was rough or smooth, you had to know how to use those oars efficiently. Otherwise, you would find yourself at the bottom of the sea. You had to know how to make because those little Moses, some of them were no longer than 12 feet long and some were smaller. There was a man who had one in Spike's tongue, and we used to say, rub-a-dub-dub, one man in a tub, because it was so small. But you had to know how to head that boat into the wave and not let the wave hit it sideways and all of that. I suppose most fishermen could swim, but some of them didn't make it back.
Winds, storms, equipment failure, and ocean currents are the chief reasons why fishermen usually get lost, bringing much distress. But on many occasions, the lost were found. Let's go back to such a case in 1975.
Austin's fish market today, and news that 2 local fishermen have been reported missing at sea. The missing men are Theophilus Coppin, aged 32 and father of 4, and Orville Gale, aged 26. They are both from Christchurch.
We lose 2 fishermen 6 days ago. Not to know, nobody to tell us what happened, what become of them. Fishermen have a tough life here in this country. Nobody don't know what hell they see. Some days they get something, some days nothing. Those 2 youngsters gone out. The poor mother come here every evening, weeping morning, noon and night. She rely on her son to give her support. A son who she had 16 years after she had all the rest of children. He have 4 children. Nobody at all to help them.
I'd say chances of 2 chaps adrift in a boat can be quite a precarious proposition. And a lot depends on the actual current and movement of the tide. But I do think 4 or 5 days is a bit long, and men begin to get very worried and nervous and thinking of their families and whatnot. It's It takes an awful lot of guts to really stay in a boat drifting at roughly 3 knots.
This is the tropical sound of Radio Barbados.
Here's a news flash. We've just heard that the 2 Barbados fishermen who've been missing at sea for 12 days have been rescued. They were picked up by a steamer 70 miles east of Antigua after drifting in their small boat for more than 300 miles. The men were without food or water for the past 9 days, but according to the ship's doctor, they are quite well. Stay tuned to Radio Barbados for the latest on the news scene.
Despite the hard labor during that pre-colonial era, the significant date of August 1st, 1834 brought about the inspiration for what is perhaps one of the oldest folk songs in Barbados, according to the lyrics.
Lick and lock up, done with, hurrah for gin gin. Lick and lock up, done with, hurrah for gin gin. Lick and lock up, done with, hurrah for gin gin. Lick and lock up, done with, hurrah for gin gin. The Queen sent from England and set we free. So lick and lock up, done with, hurrah for gin gin. That's enough. That's one of our oldest folk songs. That goes back to the time when the slaves were finally set free, and that is a song that was sung at the time and parading on the streets. And of course, a lot of people do not make the connection between that and Kadooment on the first Monday in August. We are celebrating freedom. We are celebrating our freedom from slavery and so on, and it has come all the way down to, but a lot of people go up there and they jump and they enjoy Kadooment and they do not have a clue. It is just Kadooment, and you know, they go out and they have a, but that was the symbolism, that was the whole event. You say, that's right, the historical significance of the whole Kadooment thing. Yeah, the Gin Gin was really Queen Victoria, but I'm not sure why they refer to her as Gin Gin. I don't know, but hurrah for Gin Gin. But they are attributing their freedom to her. They would not have known of the efforts of all of these the anti-slavery people like Clarkston and Wilberforce and all those persons, and local people here too. They would not have been aware of all of that, because as far as they were concerned, it was a document that was sent from on high. It was a royal document, a royal statement that they should be set free, you know? And so they were praising and dancing in the streets to that song and enjoying themselves.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of The Songs We Sang. Now, to bring the curtain down on this program is Jedidah Graham performing Island in the Sun.
This is my island in the sun, where my people have toiled since time begun. I may sail on many a sea, her shores will always be home to me. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sand. As morning breaks the heaven on high, I lift my heavy load to the sky. Sun comes down with a burning glow, mingles my sweat with the earth below. Oh, island in the sun, willed to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sand. I see a woman on bending knee, cutting cane for her family. I see man at the water's side, casting nets at the surging tide. Oh, island in the sun, built to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sand. I hope the day will never come that I can't awake to the sound of drum. Never let me miss Carnival with calypso songs, philosophy cloud. Oh, island in the sun, willed to me by my father's hand. All my days I will sing in praise of your forest waters, your shining sand.